Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews every single video game movie. My name is Ethan, and with me here to gong. Imagine there was a gong there. I won't edit it in, but imagine there's a gong. Fight is Devin. How's it going?
Blood splurts everywhere. I don't have a quote.
Okay.
So I was just doing we're doing sound effects now. I think maybe that's the new bit.
And I'm glad you're doing a local recording because Discord completely just destroyed that. But they will hear it. They will hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. I did. I was trying to do the buzz saw of.
The table saw. Yeah. Which is so nice. They did it twice. In both movies. Classic. We watched Mortal Kombat II in theaters now. I guess if you watch this episode close to when it airs,
still be in theaters. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine, right?
It's
the
doing
2026
the
film.
One. I think it already beat the first ones. I mean, granted, the first one was
a COVID movie. It was 2021, 5 years ago. Was Mortal Kombat, and I remember we reviewed that episode. We gave that movie an A, and then years passed, and we're like, yeah, they're doing a second one. And at least for me, I'll speak just for me. I'll be like, I don't remember that movie at all. I don't remember anything about that movie. I remember the insecurity from the studio being like, we need to make an original character to introduce the world to them as the audience surrogate. And I remember us doing a clip earlier this year being like, are they going to kill this guy off? Spoilers. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. We'll have to find out if you watch the movie. We are going to spoil this movie for folks at home. But yes, we watched that movie again. I believe you also rewatched Mortal Kombat 1, right?
Yes, I the same day, just because of how timing worked, I just threw it on towards the end of my work shift, and so I was kind of tuning in and out the first maybe 30 minutes of the film, but I tried my best to pay attention, and then watched pretty much the rest of the movie as is. And then I went and saw it. I think I saw it. Yeah, technically opening night. I didn't think about that, but so it was an MK evening.
It's a lot of MK in one evening.
Same director, by the way, Simon McQuoid.
And I know first one. Was it the same producer?
Let me see. Producer.
Because our producer of the second movie was out on Twitter taking shots at people who didn't review the movie very well, and it's like, come on, man, like have some respect for yourself.
There's been a weird, because even the director, like when during the Game Awards there, where they announced the Street Fighter movie,
right,
and whatever his name is, probably my least favorite cast member of the movie, going up there and was like taking shots a bit at the Mortal Kombat movie. But at the same time, when it happened, I was like, all right, whatever. Like, let's be real. Both these movies aren't going to be like award-winning. Like, we're not trying to get 10 billion in the box office, even at that, for making that point. But to me, it was like, all right, just take this as friendly competition. Who gives a shit? Like, you're probably both people who are seeing the Mortal Kombat movie probably will see the Street Fighter movie and vice versa. Generally speaking, like, not saying there's like there's always going to be black and white with it and there'll be 1-to-1, but like, I would say most of the audience who would go on an opening night for either film probably watches other martial art or martial art video game, fighting game movies. But yeah, that was like a big thing. And then afterwards, I remember the director on Twitter was kind of embarrassingly like, got really upset about it. It's like, just take it on the chin and be like, or just shit talk back and have fun with it, because at the end of the day, I'm sure you all know each other. Like, you know what I mean? You're always in Hollywood. I'm assuming you're at least 2 to 3 degrees away from people that like you might be working with some of these people at some point. You know what I mean? Or hey, crazy idea. I know it hasn't really happened in video game history, but maybe you find a way to make the movies happen together, and then you could like build up to that. Like, I don't know if you're going crazy with that.
Maybe. But in any case, you just don't have Nick Schultz be in any of your movies if you just be petty about it. Because that guy sucks, and it's not hard to just be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. But still, it was such a dumb thing. And it was funny at considering two people, we have Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns are in that movie. And at WrestleMania, one of the big sponsors was Mortal Kombat. And I thought that was funny, though. Like, considering like two of the guys were on stage when they're like, yeah, fuck Mortal Kombat. It's like, but anyways, here's Mortal Kombat 2's logo dead center on the ring. You can't miss it, as you know, all these matches are happening. And some guy, and I know Penta, one wrestler there, came out with a Shao Kahn mask during one of his entrances. But that was funny. But I'm just happy we're getting both of them now going before we actually review this movie. But like for the year when we were looking at it, I was like, hey, we're getting two goofy fighting video game movies, and that's kind of fun. And I'd rather they both be a good friendly competition than not. But we can talk about the actual movie. But yeah, same director, writers for the most part. Looks like obviously the cast returned, including.
I was surprised about that. Like, I feel like everyone.
Carl Urban with Johnny Cage obviously was the big new name. Johnny Cage. Carl Urban, being kind of a video game movie
alumni
veteran at this point. Alumni. Yeah, he's definitely a friend of the show for sure.
He's welcome anytime.
Anytime.
We say that about everyone, but like we actually mean it about only a few.
Honestly, he'd be a great person to have. I would love one of these days if we ever get any. I don't care what tier list, like A list versus C. I don't care if we got any like these guys who've been on just a couple of these video game movies we watched. That'd be except for like the only guy I would say hell no to, unless we're like gonna shit talk them the whole time, would be Uwe Boll. That's the only one I'd be like hell no, unless he comes on and we just berate this man until he rage quits. But really genuinely, like I'd be like, yeah, I would love someone like Carl Urban to come on because he's been in Doom. He's also been in our Riddick movies with when we did Chronicles of Diesel, so he'd be a cool interview for sure.
We watched that first movie again. I want to talk about that one a little bit quickly before we begin. We don't need to recap the movie. You can watch it if you want. But we gave that movie an A, and upon rewatching it, maybe I feel like charitably to us and to the film, we grade on a video game movie curve, right? It's on a curve. And the more data we add to that curve after the fact, sometimes can recolor where we feel like, a previous entry point should maybe be. I personally feel like it doesn't necessarily reach an A anymore. I would have maybe dropped it down to a B. We'll have to see, because we do want to do some rewatch stuff on the channel. I don't know if we want to decide, then or now or whatever, how we want to handle rescoring of films, but that's an idea, but
well, I was gonna say the Mortal Kombat, when we ranked that, I think we did an episode where we decided to rank things. Like we originally just reviewed those movies and be like, I liked it and didn't like it, and that was kind of it. Right. You know what I mean? And we did that up until I want to say it was around 2022 or early 2023 is when we decided,
I'm remembering now, right?
Hey, we're gonna start ranking movies
because we were scoring Chronicles of Diesel films, but not video game movies. Okay, that's right.
And then we started, and I think our first ever fantasy video game draft is where we were like, all right, how are we gonna like make this a competition? We're gonna make rankings because we think it'd be fun to actually rank movies on a made up scale, and we wind up going S through F. But then we did an episode where we're like, hey, I think we should probably apply this to the other movies we've seen. But granted, we were going off of memory for a shit ton of those, because we watched at least 20 something at that point. I want to say maybe 25 before we started doing the seasons. Like we were just, I think, randomly picking ones, or we watched a couple as they came out.
Okay.
So I remember Mortal Kombat. I'm pretty sure, could be wrong. People, I guess, could go back in the logs and check it out. But maybe I'm wrong here. But I could have sworn that was hey, we watched it, and and that was it. And then we came back like a year later and being like, yeah, we really loved that one. Okay. And also it was a COVID movie where I put a lot of things that happened during COVID with like, life's great.
Yeah. And like it was a nice looking movie. And I did like the character of Cole Young. Granted, he's like maybe a bit too old of a person to have that like innocent, doe-eyed, like soft boy protagonist, that doesn't understand this world type of thing. But I liked that character. Fine. I think my only problem with that first Mortal Kombat movie is it felt, especially now with this movie, now it feels inconsequential. Like it didn't need to happen at all because what did they stop or prevent? But anyway, it felt very sloppy. It felt like we were just kind of like trudging through some stuff, and then like, oh wait, this is where the finale is happening. It's happening now.
The
That was just for the first
very
one.
anticlimactic rewatching it for sure. At least I'll say like I didn't mind the Cole Young stuff. I just think they needed to pick and choose. I feel like there's too many like characters trying to do different things, and like I get like you want to fit as many characters in, and they easily could have done more, and that might have been worse. So I think they picked just the right amount, generally speaking. But there's just some like with Kano and Sonya there, it was just like that kind of dragged out for a bit. And then obviously Cole Young's story, we start with his story, and it kind of ends with him being like, no, I found my inner strength, and like, cool, great. And then we're going to go find, go find the movie ends with us going to find Johnny Cage, right? But I was more interested in the Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Like that's how the very first part of the movie starts, and then we get to the Cole Young stuff. But if anything, I was like, man, I think they could have just honestly made this like the first half or something. Maybe just left it in like feudal Japan or something, and just had their beef go on longer, because they were easily the coolest characters, and I found
Also,
and they had the best choreography, because they also
sure,
have martial art backgrounds, and it shows. But I'll say overall, the first Mortal Kombat movie, and I said this on one of the Devin Movie Dungeon streams, is out of all the video game movies, like fighting video game movies we've watched, the live adaptations, I will say, not any like animes or anything, this one's definitely probably the best. Obviously, we'll save thoughts for MK2 here, but arguably some of the best choreography we've seen, like where they try. Like I'm not gonna say it's perfect compared to like other martial art films, but like like fighting video game movies, we've seen some bad choreography, and I'm like, this holds up for the most part. There's some definitely some characters or actors probably who didn't have the skill set to get there, so they would find ways to get around that. But yeah, I enjoyed the Scorpion Sub-Zero shit, and I wish we had more of that, or we just follow Cole Young's perspective the whole movie.
Sure. Yeah, because the whole idea of him being
Scorpion Sub-Zero as its own separate thing or whatever, I don't know. But I like that, but it just felt like there was like 3 other plots happening, and they kind of all intermingle a little bit, but it just didn't work really at the end. Like it kind of just felt like they're trying to tie loose ends, and I get like Cole's supposed to be like tied to that to some degree, but it just didn't feel that way at the end, because he doesn't turn into a ninja or something like that. Like he just has his own abilities, which is fine, but just it didn't feel like, I would never know you were related to Scorpion.
And like because they wanted that to be like, that's why he's chosen, is that blood. But they use that, they use the Hanzo bloodline thing as somehow how these people are chosen for in this movie's version of that idea, which is unique to this movie to my understanding. Why it happens to be Scorpion, I don't know, just because they wanted that to happen centuries ago, and therefore I will say this movie makes the mistake of like you talked about the Sub-Zero and Scorpion beef. If you didn't know, then there is no beef. The dude just shows up to kill his family. We are not even told that Scorpion and his clan ever, like, you know what I mean? Like there is no like we attacked them too or anything. It's just dude just shows up to kill my family and then me, and that's that. And then it just seems like a very simple, like obvious revenge idea. Not that they're trying to show anything deep with that, but I would argue that there is, like, this version of the story, they do not ever say that the clans are warring. One of them's Chinese, the other's Japanese. They don't even speak languages. This guy doesn't even know who Sub-Zero is. He's just here to kill his family. So, and they never, in spoilers for the second movie, like even address that. Not that they need to, but they never bring that up. So it's not like it's a deeper thing. So it feels weird that that first movie was like his bloodline or his spirit, his what he represents is how all the warriors are chosen. The other kind of goofy thing,
because Cole didn't even need, like, I get the whole birthmark thing they were trying to do, but like it's not like the other characters are connected to some ancient bloodline
right?
as well,
And they
like
get it from killing each other. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
So like I think Cole Young could have just been born with it, and that would have been fine. Like he didn't
right,
need to be like, I feel like they for some reason wanted, once again, like you said, they wanted to create a new character for the audience, but to make him feel cooler, they're like, he's the long lost cousin of Scorpion, and everyone likes Scorpion. Like that's what it felt like.
yeah. It's weird. And then like this works better in a video game than it does in this movie, this first one, and as well as the second one here. Um, and you could make it work in the movie if you did it differently, but the whole idea of like you need to win 10 tournaments in a row and then you get to take over, like logistically it sounds very stupid, but you can make it good if we show over the course of several films us repeatedly losing and it's new generations, and because they want the idea of like this is the final stand, the last struggle, but it's because we are introduced to it with the characters of like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh man, like it doesn't feel as important. It feels kind of silly to be like, what do you mean we lost 9 times in a row?
Either a montage, or I get they didn't show Shao Kahn in the first one to kind of have it for
They
a
wanted
sequel
to,
here.
yeah.
But I think you could have still done something, even if it was like a quick 2 minutes in the maybe the film should have started, the first one should have started with like, especially with the context of the second movie here, because we do get this scene, but from a different realm of, hey, Earth Realm just lost their ninth battle, and here maybe the movie starts with that battle,
Right.
and we pick up from context clues that like this is a big deal, and whoever, you can make a new character that way, or just pull from the game from the earlier time, and you can also set the different time periods, so maybe to establish like this has happened, like yeah, there's been 10 of these tournaments or 9 of these tournaments, but it's taken place over, for human history it's like thousands and thousands of years, but for them it just is like every weekend or whatever. But like
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. Was it over thousands of years, or was it every 20 years?
They did show in the first movie on the, as some of their Easter eggs, they did have on the wall there, Sonya, when they were researching it, they had 2 characters on there, and one of them was I forget his name, but he's like inspired by like Aztec, like an Aztec warrior.
So that would be hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, and then they did have Scorpion on there as well. So like, I think that just either that or like it implied that this has been a long-standing tradition of some sort.
But like, I think,
to not
you could have maybe started show any of that makes it feel goofy to be like when the audience is told, yeah, it's a tournament to see who gets to take over the other planet, other realm, whatever. But like the specific rule of having to win 10 times in a row, it's not like a best of 10, best of 5, best of 19, best of 16, kind of whatever. It's 10 in a row.
You get to 9, and you lose that 10. You're like, fuck. Well, we'll win the next 9 again.
Because there's a way to have, yeah.
Also, absolutely. What if Earth Realm wins 10? So does that mean like? And then I have more questions logistically. Does Raiden get to like be like, fuck that shit? Like we're going in, or do we?
Right, because they're clearly the defenders. You know what I mean? The whole pitch is that they are defending Earth.
I think it works in a video game, like for the sake of like how the video games work. I mean, we can talk about it once we get more. Obviously, I mean, we've been loosely talking about MK2, I think, to some degree here, but maybe folks want us to jump more right in. But I'll say the first movie has this, and the second movie has this, and we've watched a lot of video game movies on this channel. And I think there's a thin line between doing references and Easter eggs to where it feels right and also feels very just ham-fisted. I don't know where that line is. I'm not going to say I would I've definitely watched movies of things I like and been like, yeah, they did the thing, and then maybe afterwards I'm like, oh yeah, that was a little ham-fisted. I don't know what. I'm not gonna say I'm an expert at that line is, but maybe we've watched enough video game movies at this point where, and there's about not just video game movies suffer from this, nostalgia slop kind of in general suffers from this. The Marvel movies suffer from this. I'm not gonna say that they started it. I would say they maybe popularized the, hey, we need to say that line because everyone needs to hear that line, or I need to make that reference. I need to make that thing.
Well, there's a whole industry of post-movie online articles and attention and hype that is like, what did he mention this Easter egg? What does this mean? And like that whole thing feeds into marketing for future stuff.
Here's 10 Easter eggs you probably missed in Sonic 3 or whatever. And I'll say after watching, I think it was another thing after rewatching the first movie that I definitely was like, all right, get over here. Fine. But
they fucked up the get over here in the first movie because it wasn't Ed Boon saying it. He does say it, spoilers, in the second one. That is him, I'm pretty sure. But they didn't get him to do it for the first one. And that felt like dropping the ball on a very easy...
I didn't really care either way. It was more of just that, like the whole 10... And I go back, I'm saying this because you mentioned the whole 9 rounds or 10 rounds of winning in a row. And, like, what does that mean and whatnot? And, like, that's a little goofy if you don't understand... Like, there's plenty of people who probably saw that movie being like, I played one Mortal Kombat game at my friend's house. I'm just going to go see this movie. Will they understand it? We heavily critiqued, like, the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie compared to the first one, where the first one felt way more accessible as a general audience member versus the second one being like, all right, there's clearly things I'm not aware of that people are freaking out about.
Yeah.
And that's great for them, but I don't know if that makes the movie good. Same with the Sonic 3. I had the same issue. Some of the things was like, oh my god, that's blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but it's not good though. Sorry. Like, and I feel like after watching this, I was like, God, this was, I feel like, peak of that era. Like, I think the era is slowly dwindling, and I think people are, general audiences are starting to be more critical of, like, all right, I'm sick of Marvel 19, and I have to watch 3 TV shows to do it.
Right.
I don't know. There's a way to do it where you can still reference things. Like having this, like, let's get into MK2 here, for example. There's some, the set pieces. Some of them are old stages from the original games.
Yeah,
those looked cool. Like they had one of my favorites, which is Shao Kahn versus Cole Young. There, they had the acid pit with all the hooks and stuff, and they even did the linear thing. But even if you didn't make it look like the video game, but just had that set piece, that's a reference you can just be like, all right, no, you don't need to tell, like, not the general audience doesn't need to know whether or not that's an old stage. They'll just see it and be like, that looks cool. Versus someone going in there and being like, all right, we got to say all the lines and we have to do all the jokes. We have to get Ed Boon in here and have him be on there for 5 seconds on screen so that someone can point and be like, oh my God, that's Ed Boon.
Yeah, maybe this is just a me thing. I do want people involved in the video games themselves to have that Stan Lee type of thing. I liked when Nolan North was in the Uncharted movie. You know what I mean? How goofy that was. I like that Ed Boon was in there, and I think they clearly cut more than what they filmed. But I was fine with that.
I guess it's more of just that, like, I've seen it done so many times that it's just like it's okay to just let it be its own thing, and. Ed Boon's not the only one who was involved in Mortal Kombat, so maybe throw someone else in there, or have an actor from one of the original games who did the photos of them in the game, have them be in it, like, as a little. I think that'd be more of a deep cut nod. I don't know.
I think for me, because I understand what you're saying. I think for me, we're at a point right now.
I don't know.
You are. I'm sick, and I'm under the weather, and you're over the moon. In anger, I don't know. I'm trying to find something funny to say here. But I do understand what you're saying, and I think we are at a point right now in this post-MCU adoration period in cinema where people are yearning more and more for authenticity. I work with children, and I've said this before to some people where some of these kids were like, hey, as you grow older, the thing that you're going to seek more and more of, and this is going to sound strange, but is authenticity, is authentic people. like, you know, bring a Mr. Beast to some of these kids. Like, you don't even really like this person. You just like the spectacle of it. But like, as you grow older, you will seek people who are going to be talking to you in the context of YouTube specifically. We're going to be talking to you about things that you like, and you're going to naturally gravitate towards things that you actually feel are being respected. You might not recognize this or not, but that authenticity is what drives people to want to actually remember and like a thing long term. Short term spectacle, long term, it's that authenticity. I'm so sick right now. Authenticity. That's right. And so with all the I mean the Marvel stuff, like I know you said nostalgic slop, and I hate putting slop on as an adjective or whatever at the end there. For everything, people do that now. It is positive, but
I'm just trying to fit in with the kids.
I don't think I understand. I wouldn't even call the Marvel stuff nostalgic because the overwhelming majority of people who are into it don't have a nostalgic for comics. They might have watched the Spider-Man show or stuff like that, but like it's pointing out references here or there because it's about building a larger brand of attention, a web of people being like, yep, and this and that, and then because there's enough people that are satisfied by these notes of like a thing that makes them feel like they're in on something, which then makes them feel like they are a part of it more, blah, 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 blah. But in this kind of post-MCU adoration period that I feel like we're in right now, what people like more is when that stuff is authentic, when it feels like it isn't just being shoved in your face, but it feels like it is, I guess, not poser shit. You truly are in on it because they don't try to be like, look and see. Some of the Sonic stuff is like that, honestly, in the movies. Some of that is like that. Even some of the Mario Galaxy stuff is like there afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was supposed to be a little bit more subtle, but there's a million other references a mile a minute, so it gets overwhelmed. But stuff like the stages and whatnot, because they're not being pointed out, because it is just the set. Like also the spikes. That's another one of the stages from classic Mortal Kombat. That was one that I recognized as a not super big Mortal Kombat player. That stuff works because it isn't just being like shown to you that like if they did the whole thing where like there was a cheesy level select screen and this or that, like I would be like cool, but over time you'd be like, that's kind of stupid. I do, like that specific scene with Shao Kahn fighting Cole Young there. Mainly the fact that the quote unquote a fighting arena is a linear strip of concrete does kind of point out a bit more that like, hey, 2D fighting game, I get it. Kind of help avoid like lateral moving around type of stuff if you wanted to do something neat there. But like I don't feel like for the most part people are like, that's a thing and it's a reference. I mean, if they do, it's because they actually know, and that's fine. But I do agree that a lot of this movie didn't feel like it was trying to reference stuff more so than the first one. However, I do feel like this movie's I don't want to call it a big problem that this movie has, but this movie has a lot of characters in it, and it felt like it was too afraid of removing the potential to have reference type of look at this scene, look at these characters for future stuff. They're obviously going to do future movies, although this movie ends on such a boring cliffhanger that's like, spoilers, like, we have some more friends to bring back. Here's Quan Chi, my favorite guy, because of how stupid he is. He's like a clown in makeup. He's
the black metal guy he ran into the wrong like
I just love
party or whatever.
The PlayStation 1 game Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, how stupid it is, and he is in that video game. They do live action cutscenes. Oops, well, you heard that, sorry. I'm sick. They make that ending thing makes it seem like they're on a big journey to bring back all their dead friends back, but like the movie showed how easy it was for him to just do it. So I don't know, they're not really teasing a third movie all that well, but the fact that they barely killed anyone off,
except for Cole Young, which I didn't want to happen just because I don't think the actor deserved it. Like I know I know the MK like diehards when the first movie came out, they're like, what is this shit? And I think the biggest mistake was they shouldn't have put him in unless they had planned to put him in MK1 or MK11 as a DLC character. Like, be like, no, this guy is gonna be in the franchise. Like, yes, he might not be the next Liu Kang or whatever, but like, he's gonna be a playable character in a future game. Like, maybe you don't like the backstory or whatever, sure, but like, we didn't just make this up for the sake of, yes, we needing to make something new for the movie.
But that is what I wish they just, unfortunately.
And it just felt, and I feel bad for him because he gets his own storyline in this first movie, and it was like, all right. He finally.
I mean, you could tell. You look at the poster for the second movie. You look at the poster for the second movie. He's tiny. He's tiny and off to the side. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, this dude's dying. I could tell.
Yeah, it just sucks though. But I was kind of waiting for him to come back because of what you said, where it feels like anyone can come back, which is true in Mortal Kombat, even in the video games. Like, there's some weird mythological reason why someone can come back. So maybe he can come back in another movie. But like, I was waiting for him to come back in this movie because of how, like, all right, he died, and then they're like, oh shit, he's dead, and then I was like, all right,
we don't care, we got to move on.
We're like, he saved the day in the first movie, but whatever, man. Like,
he
was our leader really in that first movie.
Yeah,
like, let's get our shit together. Let's you're going here, I'm going here. Like, that's how that movie ends, and it's like, damn, our fearless leader just it's GG. He's like, don't worry, we have this new guy. His name is Johnny Cage, I guess, and
who is not a character that like, listen, I'll say this right now because I do want to continue this point, but I want to add this little part because we're going to talk about Johnny Cage a bit more, I assume. I don't like that character at all, and like any Mortal Kombat stuff. I think I just don't like him. I do like this version of it because this is the down and out post actor, phase where he is just like looking for meaning. And I like Carl Urban's portrayal of him. I'm probably in the minority here from Mortal Kombat fans wanting the more jackass-like personality. You know what I mean? Of someone who's actually in their prime. They actually had him be an action hero from the 90s, and this movie is not in the 90s. I like that, but he's not a leading man in terms of, like, Carl Urban is a leading man, but, like, the character is not a leading man in terms of the ensemble of Mortal Kombat. It's Liu Kang, almost called him Luke. Who, by the way, hey, he was jacked in that first movie. Wears a shirt the entire time in the second one. 5 years does a lot to the human body. You know what I mean? They should not have waited to film this long. That's a long time. You know what I mean? It's a long time to keep it up for the case they're gonna do. He has the shirt on the entire time, red one then a white one. I noticed that. They wanted to have a leading character for that first movie, and then so they made up that this Cole Young character, and they tried to tie him into Scorpion. Blah blah blah. We all know this. Despite having Liu Kang be in the movie, maybe they thought his backstory would not be interesting enough to be leading man material. I don't think it's a racism thing of like an Asian, like how many Jackie Chan movies? No, like I don't see that being the reason of like it needs to be a white guy.
I don't even know in the games what his backstory was, except for like, he was just that guy from his world. You know what I mean?
Same thing with Ryu. You know what I mean? In Street Fighter, it's just he's this is the guy on the cover. This is the main guy. Whatever. You know what I mean? Most people like Ken more than Ryu, but that doesn't mean that Ken is the leading guy. Ryu is. Same thing with Liu Kang there. And then they're clearly setting up probably a third movie is going to be more Liu Kang centric. Maybe that's how I kind of view his exit in the movie.
It's somewhat similar to how Mortal Kombat 11 story is, because he becomes the Elder God to replace Raiden, and he has just the way I interpreted that of him dipping out and saying I need to change things. Like that's how Mortal Kombat 11 is him going through. There's some time jumping, and also him fighting his guy there. God, I'm blanking on his name.
Kung Lao.
Yeah. Like the evil version of him, that's also in Mortal Kombat 11. So where there was evil versions of themselves because they got corrupted or whatever. I don't remember the full context, but he has to go back in time and stuff. And basically how that game ends, Mortal Kombat 11, is if you play the story mode, is Liu Kang basically resets the universe, and that's why Mortal Kombat 1 made sense when that game came out. Just like, hey, we can reboot this, but also
in which none of the fans seemed to like it, and the gameplay of 1 seemed to not mesh well with the main core fans, and so now they're going to reboot it again.
I was going to get it, but I also, like, at the time, I feel like it was only like a year removed from me, like, being like, all right, I liked Mortal Kombat 11. I played everything in that game for the most part. And I was like, all right, I could take a break. And it was like, all right, there's another one. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah. You got into the game a little bit late. I understand for sure. I didn't play Mortal Kombat 1 either, to be fair. But I liked the idea of it a lot. I liked the idea of remixing character relationships. Scorpion and Sub-Zero were brothers in that game. Like, I like stuff like that. Maybe they'll bring back the long-canceled Mortal Kombat Fire and Ice co-op game that was in development. I think on the PlayStation 2 days. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, like, there's a lot of the Mortal Kombat mythology that is, like, being redone all the time. And since it is such a singular idea, again, Earth just lost 9 battles in a row. Earthrealm's going to lose their 10th. Is kind of like the only story plot point that general audiences are going to know as Mortal Kombat story, right? Unfortunately. So after this movie
they at least know there's a tournament. Maybe they don't even know that full context. They know that there's a tournament or an event where all the dudes come together and they beat the shit out of each other to the death.
Like, right. My point is, like, now after this movie, they have to figure out what to do next in a way that is going to be more of an original thing, I would imagine. Because here's the thing. I mentioned this when I was bringing up how corny they need to win 10 in a row kind of thing is. If they had doled that out over multiple movies, then it would feel more, and I know you hate the Marvel stuff right now, more Thanos-like. Shao Kahn had a great presence, and it would be cooler if he was in multiple movies as the, like, guy who keeps killing. Like, no, he just comes in at the end and he kills. Like, he had a good presence in this movie, very Thanos-like. And him with Katana in this movie is very much Avengers Infinity War, him and Gamora. Yep, he conquers that planet, and he now raises this princess as his daughter, type of thing. And and hey, there's a sister-like person who's a little bit more subservient and loyal to Thanos there. Blue
That's
Lady,
also in the games, at least.
And I understand. I'm not saying that they like just decided to copy that, but like
I'm saying they might have. Mortal Kombat 11 might have took from Thanos and all that. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I know the only thing I do know from the originals, and that one, I guess, like I said, going back to references, but more so, I wouldn't call this like a direct one because I don't think how many people know this. But in the first Mortal Kombat, I'm like 90% sure that Johnny Cage is the main guy who wins it all. Like in the actual like story for like Mortal Kombat 2 and onwards, is that all right? Johnny Cage wins, is the Earthrealm hero. It isn't until later that Liu Kang becomes more of the popular guy, but originally Johnny Cage was the guy who wins it. So it made sense for this movie. It was like, all right, Johnny Cage is gonna be. I thought he was gonna be the one to win it all, and obviously they didn't do that. But in this movie, but I digress. I just wanted to make that quick point with.
Okay.
But yeah, Jade and Katana being in Mortal Kombat 11, that is like their big thing going on.
And I get it, and like it works. So there's a lot of drama there. There's a movie there. You know what I mean? Stretch that out a bit. Stretch that out.
I liked their like town they lived in. I wanted more of that setting.
That reminded me so much. This is gonna sound so weird. That town reminded me so much of the town at the end of the second Hobbit movie that the dragon burns down, and the same town at the beginning of the third Hobbit movie because they split that.
Maybe it's
that's just something about it. It just looked so similar to me like that. My whole kind of point here, and I kind of tangentially kind of wandered away from it. This movie should have been the end of an entire trilogy, or maybe 4 movies if we don't want to consider the first one a part of a trilogy or not. Or like, because he is the big bad as far as I am aware in Mortal Kombat. And I know that there's elder stuff and there's blah, 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 and I get it. But like, just like kind of the original 95 Mortal Kombat movie did not have him in it. It had Shang Tsung You know, I'm gonna steal your soul, which is what the 20 again. Like I get it. You do a couple more of those types of people, and then you lead up to Shao Kahn. But now that they did it for this movie, I feel satisfied to be like, yeah, I'm good. There's nothing like, okay, the people that are died, we're gonna cheat the system and bring them back to life. I guess. Sounds like you can do that in 3 minutes. I don't really need to see a story of you finding their corpses in hell, necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, now, if you have an entire Quan Chi movie, I'm down with you. But I don't know. It feels kind of like whatever.
I mean, he's always been not a main villain, but he's been, I think, in the other games is like a side guy, and he'd pop up in here and there.
He's like Mortal Kombat 4, I think, was when he was introduced.
So you could go that direction again.
And he's alive, right?
But to kind of counter that point a bit, why does everything need to be 5 movies planned out and all that shit? It's just like, just tell a better story where either A, you don't have Shao Kahn, or you do put Shao Kahn, and maybe if you want a sequel, have him win at the end of the movie. And they're like, fuck, we got to go back in time. Because there was already some hint with Liu Kang being like, I got a dip, which was super sudden, by the way. I didn't like how that was executed at all, where he's like, oh, I'm not the one who's going to win. All right, I'll see you guys later. And he just, like,
I was under the impression he is in that moment dying and choosing to have his death be to his benefit. But I agree.
It felt very like, all right. But like I said, I was like, all right, that's where the Mortal Kombat 11 kind of inspired stuff is probably going to come in at some point. But I don't know, just like have Shao Kahn win, and if you want to do your Infinity War versus Endgame, you have him win and be like, fuck, we gotta go back to the drawing board, or we have one loophole that we can use. We have to go back to the first tournament in 1850 or whatever the fucking first tournament was. We got to go back and change something or something. And you can make up some more bullshit if you want. I just, like, I agree with you where I'm like, right at the ending is like, we got to go find more friends for this.
For why?
Like, what are they throwing a party? Like at the end?
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, it's nice to bring back people that you like that are dead.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to kill each other this time, but we're going
to have a volleyball tournament, and we need 16 people
for a local charity.
We're only at 11. We need to find more dudes. Yeah, because like there's no stakes. It's not like we need to find these people because the new threat is looming. It's like, man, we missed those guys. It's unfair that they died. You know what I mean? That's just kind of it. Like, great. Now can you bring everyone back? I will say this too. Fucking hate Kano. Not even in a you love to hate him. I just don't like that character. I don't like that guy at all.
Really? I thought he was the only one that was somewhat comedic. I think some of the Johnny Cage. No offense to Carl Urban, not your fault. I think this is the lines themselves.
Agreed.
Some of the lines were not great. We didn't have a chance to kind of talk about the Johnny Cage character because in Mortal Kombat 11, I like him because he is this now dad guy, but he still has that like I used to be that guy. He's not very much a I'm down and out character for sure. But what I did like about Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat 11 game was very much like, yeah, the asshole of like, I've won all these awards, I'm that guy, and like he is the douchebag. But I think they execute it way better in Mortal Kombat 11 than I've seen it in the other games for sure. But I didn't mind this angle. Like I agree with being like, all right, he's basically washed. No one gives a shit about him anymore.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It just didn't work enough. Or like
for the movie being entirely centered, like in theory, on him in the marketing, and the fact that the previous movie has Cole Young go to find him to Hollywood, which is not who finds him. Whatever. That's a stupid little thing. The movie's so focused marketing wise on him, and he's not necessarily that big of a deal in it. I would argue Katana is maybe more.
Stuff, but
right. Yeah, it's a little weird, and I agree. Well, a lot of the lines that they wrote for him were a little stupid. He's not the one
doing the final. Like he does do the final fight, but he gets help. But like I said, like I was under the interpretation he's the one that's gonna fight Shao Kahn. Like the fact that he lost right away, I was like, okay, we're doing something different. We'll see how this plays out. But like I really thought going in, like, all right, knowing what the first game is, but also like you still could have done it in a way where that's his growth. Is like he thinks he's not capable of beating any of the guys. Maybe he gets really lucky in his fights, but like somehow he's the last one to fight Shao Kahn. When you get that with Baraka, they like joke about like, all right, we're still screwed because he's gonna be the one to like fix this, and he wins. But like you could have done that angle, I think, with Shao Kahn. I think just have him. Maybe he doesn't kill him, but maybe he beats him, and then that's where your sequel comes in. He's like, you beat us once, you still need to beat us 9 more times, and you guys can't. I don't know. Maybe they make a rule you can't participate again. So it's like, all right, that's where the next movie is we got to fucking recruit another new batch of knuckleheads to come fight in this thing. I don't know. There's just so many angles you can go with it, but like, I just felt very dissatisfied with like how Johnny Cage's. Like, it was comedic somewhat at the end, but, like, it just didn't feel like, despite all the marketing, like you said, like, he didn't feel like he was that main hero at the end of the movie. Especially since we lost our other main hero from the first movie. You kill him off, that, like, no one really fills that void. Like, to me, where I felt satisfied that, like, yeah, Katana, I guess, has her moments, but she wasn't part of that original core, so it just feels like she has her moment, which was great. But our heroes that we originally watched an entire movie about, by the end, were just like, all right.
And all those actors came back, which I was very surprised about. I was expecting Jax or Sonya to not be played by the same person.
They also killed my guy Jax, bro. Jax is one of my mains.
Yeah, they're gonna find him back. Man. They're gonna bring him back. I mean, and that's stupid.
With bigger metal arms.
This entire fighting game franchise is based on the spectacle of brutally killing each other. And games aside, for the sake of this movie, they can't even keep to the fact that, yeah, they're dead now as stakes is kind of lame. For the Johnny Cage stuff, I get the impression that, you know, they decided during wrapping up the first movie, like, yep, if we can make a sequel, Johnny Cage will be our big guy. We all know what he'll be like. Oh, yeah, cool. And they even kind of stinger end in that first movie him with like the belt buckle that says Cage in a way that assumes the more cocky asshole in his prime actor version of the character. I get the impression that while they were starting to write this movie and plan this movie out, the second movie, they got cold feet, or they felt maybe a little bit not as confident anymore on whether or not they can pull off a jackass being your protagonist the entire movie in a way that wouldn't make people roll their eyes and be like, fuck this. And so maybe they decided to rein it back in. Maybe that's when they decided to change him. You know, the novelty of like the games from the 90s, he was an actor in the 90s, but it's not the 90s, it's 2026 or whatever. So I you know, there's that novelty of it. Maybe that came separate from the idea of not having him be literally the 90% of the movie type of idea that I got the impression that they wanted to do. It feels like they were not as confident in it, and then that means that like they have to write all these other characters to kind of fill back up more of it. I also look at it was plain as day that they were going to kill off Cole Young because he's the one that's like very adamant about like, if I die, I know I did it for my family, and none of the other characters ever be like, I would be content dying for the cause. They all have so he's gone. You have him pit up against Shao Kahn, who just became immortal. You knew he's gone. It doesn't matter. Blah blah blah. A lot of the fights,
it's just more of just like,
I don't know.
It goes back to the confidence thing of like why. It just feels very fan servicey, and that's where I guess that's even another part of my part of the references and I used the word nostalgia earlier because for our MCU it's been 15 years, so people are. I wish it was like the first Avengers again. Like that's what people want, and they're not going to get that again. You're never going to get even Endgame again. I'm sorry, there's no way they can build up where they are at this point without
because it's mostly in your head. It's all the emotional feeling of being,
and you have none because in the last 20 movies haven't been good since. So there is no. That's why they have to keep pulling you back in.
There's been a couple, but
Robert Downey Jr. being back is the perfect example of that.
And for $65 million, yeah.
But this is to me like, and I don't hate to open this can of worms, everybody, but I'm pointing it out. And this goes back to just like we deserved better things in like having. I'd rather someone be confident in being like, all right, it's not what I thought it would be, but it was still good, or at least they tried something different. This to me was like Rise of Skywalker in terms of not having not to that level, but just like the same idea in practice where you're saying the confidence. They had an idea with the marketing and they're like, all right, Johnny Cage's gonna be the guy. And then he said it does feel that way where they're like, but let's not do it too much because I don't know. We're afraid
they'll turn off on audiences or
we knew we knew the diehard Mortal Kombat fans didn't like Cole Young, so let's kill him off in this movie. And we'll do some quick lines about, oh, it's okay if I die, don't worry about it, for the people who do care. And people's reception to Cole Young was negative. I know we were probably more on the outlier, being like, it's fine. Like, he was a different character. He actually had things to work with because he was new. He didn't have the expectations like Katana has to be this, or this guy has to be that because of the video game, blah 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 blah. Because people get pissy about that shit. And that's my main critique of these things sometimes, is that like there's baggage. I don't know where the line is, but you have to hit the references because there's going to be the one guy on Twitter in your DMs being like, you should kill yourself because you didn't make blah 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 happen. But I say all this because The Rise of Skywalker was the most biggest example of a franchise being so afraid of changing or trying something new, or the minor niche audience that you created getting really pissed off, as opposed to remembering that general audiences exist. And the Joe Schmo who works his 9 to 5, who likes something, is still just as valuable as someone who's like, I buy all the fucking comic books and all the movies and all blah, 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 blah. Like, yes, those people sure maybe give you the extra dollars, but they're still going to buy that shit anyways. Do what you want to do. Be confident in what you're doing creatively. And if once you start worrying about what the fans want, not saying you should, hey, we're going to put the Mortal Kombat music again in it because everyone likes that one. We like it too. Cool.
And I think they did a good job with that specific thing, but go on.
But I'm saying all this is that like I agree with what you're saying. And I think that's my biggest critique of this movie, is that like, as someone who's like, I would say not a diehard Mortal Kombat fan, but I'd put myself in the fandom because I've grew up on playing a lot of them. And, you know, I don't platinum many video games, but I platinum Mortal Kombat 11 during COVID.
I was very proud of you. I was very proud of you.
Because that game was a fucking grind towards the end. And I had to do some bullshit combos that I never thought I could do. And I still don't think I could do again. I just got lucky. But anyways, I say all that is like, not even doing it for me, like, general audiences exist. Once you start capitulating to these outrage of Reddit fans or whatever, you lost the plot. Not saying that's what they fully did here, but it's very clear with Cole Young, and I do agree.
That is what they did.
You pointed like they're just 100%
like what they did.
And that's not unfair to the guy who arguably might have been the best actor in that movie outside of Scorpion. Not saying that, like, to be fair, those guys, Scorpion.
The baby was a really good actor too. She really was a baby.
I do really like Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays Hanzo, and then I did like him in that. But like, once again, Scorpion is a pretty one-dimensional character, which is fine. Doesn't mean he has to have all this depth. But just,
they all are. That's how you're able to build off of them, and then they don't.
That's why you have a character like Cole Young, and you have to like make that like. But that goes back to just no different than we've had the critiques of like Sonic 3 and all those things. Is that like you actually could get more if you let some freedom go, let these directors do more stuff instead of always trying to capitulate to. I need to see Super Sonic. I need to.
Right.
Because guess what? This fourth Sonic movie, they're going to have to put Super Sonic in it, or else it's going to feel, those people are going to get mad. There's no Super Sonic because you've now opened this, and like, you should have been one movie. I mean, like, this happened once, we're not getting it again.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
And that's with the Shao Kahn stuff, like you're saying, like, maybe buy into it, be confident with it, but like, now what do they do? Now they have nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, and like, there's an argument to be said of, does everything need to be a franchise? Does everything need to be a series? I would say for video games, Mortal Kombat does not fit in this. But when I think of like some of the games that I would love to make into movies, I'm thinking of some of these long-ass JRPGs that you would have to turn into a trilogy to tell one game's story, just because of how long video games are. And for Mortal Kombat, fighting games and in general, I mean, like, they're very story light. Mortal Kombat has more story than Street Fighter does, at least in terms of its lore and stuff like that. Tekken has a story that can be summed up in 20 minutes, but it's, even though technically Tekken is the longest running video game story, that was part of the marketing for Tekken 8, is because, yeah, they didn't reboot it, they just kept going, and technically it is the whatever. I find that very funny. It is at a point now where it is like, okay, what do they do next? I understand that. But they are going to want to keep making more of these, and you do kind of have to plan it out a bit. And if you like the Sonic stuff, we praise for kind of seeming like they're doing it one at a time. Be like, we're going to treat this as if it might be the last one. And if we're going to be satisfied with this, we don't need to have any loose threads. You know what I mean? Like, cool, we're done. And if this is the last one, that's exciting. But there is something to be said about like planning out, 3-4 movies. And it helps if you can confidently state, we are going to make 3-4 of these, and we're going to be telling out this longer thing. I will say this though, because you mentioned you talked about the Cole Young thing, and you talked about capitulating to online voices, right? The voices of people who are very much into the thing, and they want to be heard, and they want to be happy, and you already have their money anyway. Even though they're going to say that they're not going to watch the next one, they will anyway. And I'm one of those people for stuff a lot of the time, so I get it. Studios, executives, producers, sometimes directors, but producers. And the producer of this movie did this on Twitter. I wish I could pull it up right now. I don't have the time to search, and I'm not logged into Twitter, and Twitter doesn't like letting you use Twitter unless you're logged in, which is very annoying. But this notion of saying we made this for the fans is anti-art. In the sense that you are not making a thing that you want to make unless you are Dave Filoni in Star Wars, and the thing you're making is apparently a very bad Star Wars movie. That Mandalorian movie is apparently reviewing very, very poorly because it feels like it is just 2 episodes of a show put together, because the man literally describes his Star Wars stuff as playing with action figures, and I'm like, cool, a child can do that. Why do we need to pay you to do this for Star Wars? But these people like saying, we made this for the fans, we made this for the fans, we made this for the fans. And what they're really signaling here is that they are talking directly to your Reddit analogy person there, that like, yes, we're doing this to please you. You are the core audience. We are inadvertently powering you to be more vocal about our stuff, because they see the MCU stuff. Absolutely. But the MCU stuff specifically, post Endgame, has been very, very fandom focused. It's been very focused on making sure that all of the people that are really into the thing are very happy about the thing that they're watching at the expense of a general audience. That was not the case for the Marvel movies leading up. Literally, like, and I know people point at this as like a bad thing, and it is, understandably, but it's a sign that they're more cognizant and nervous about movies' receptions. That Captain Marvel movie, that was a pitch many movies prior to do that, and they're like, we don't know if that'll work out, being a movie with a female lead. Again, shitty, I get it, whatever. But at the same time, that was them being like, well, we really got to make sure that everyone likes this movie, everyone likes all of these movies. And nowadays, they're like, yeah, it doesn't, like, Guardians of the Galaxy proves we can have whatever the fuck we want as a lead, and then we're going to have all these different movies be whatever. And as a general person who does not watch all of these shows, and I don't want to watch these shows, I started watching a couple of the recent ones. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this. This feels like shitty homework. Why am I doing this to myself? So I can feel like I'm in the know. Now I feel like I'm out of the loop. I don't understand any of this stuff at all. Whatever. But that idea of we're doing it for the fans is often used as a defense for bad movies. And that is happening for this movie right now. I don't think this movie is bad at all, to be clear. I think this is a perfectly fine movie.
I feel like we're really harsh, but I think, to me,
we've been like that a lot lately. It's because we care for people.
I just said, like, I feel like I'm at like a breaking point of just like, I just think as a society we deserve better on shit. And I've been watching some cool shit lately, like that, where I'm like, talking about the opposite direction. I talked about the movie Mother Mary the other day, and on stream, and that's an art house film, and art house meaning like not made for general audiences, but it's not made for the fans. It's made because the director was like, I want to tell this fucking story. I don't care who actually sees it, but I'm making it. I have a great cast and a crew who are buying in, and a producer who's like, yeah, dude, do your thing. That's not, I read the script. Fuck it. Let's do it. Like, and if it only gets 50 million in the box office, we're only giving you 5, but if it gets 50 million, that's a huge win. But you're also telling the story you want to tell, and that's the difference between that and, like you're saying, like making it for the fans. Well, I say all this, and I feel like I'm at a breaking point. I think, unfortunately, this movie, because I like Mortal Kombat, I think just kind of hit me harder just because I'm just like, man, like, I'm done, man. Like, I think we can still do franchises and stuff and in adaptations and still make it good if we just allow it to be, instead of it turning into references and having to, or make it tie into some bigger, broader thing, as opposed to being like,
right.
One thing I do like about the Sonic movies is at least like they're doing one at a time. Sure, maybe there's some things that would have been better at if they knew after Sonic 1 we want to make 3 other ones. I'll say this:
if they knew they would get the funding for them, yeah, absolutely.
This might be the last Mortal Kombat movie, at least from this crew, because it's struggling to break even at the box office right now. Because there's other bigger, better shit. Talking about legacy sequels, Devil Wears Prada 2 actually was a very sincere movie where I felt like, hey, this is how, if you're gonna do doing a remake or whatever you want to call it, bringing something back, that's how you do it. But I say all this, and I think I'm just at a breaking point. But I'll say I do agree that like I don't think this movie's like downright bad or anything. I just think it's fine. Like, and we've watched other video game movies lately that were like, wow, there's some decent ones out there. Where I'm like, at this point, once again, our sliding scale. I think video game movies, where we've said this before, like a year or two ago at this point, is that because of movies like Sonic 2 and the first Super Mario Brothers movie, not much the second, that they might be finally finding success because they're being done well enough for general audiences, or they are generally decent regular movies, and we're getting this like kind of, I wouldn't say renaissance because it implies that there was almost like a prior to this, but I don't think there ever really was. There's some highlights throughout the decades, but really in the last couple of years, video game movies are starting to be somewhat successful at the box office and also be decent. And now I feel like they're trying to like get to the MCU level, and their way of doing that is following the MCU recipe when they shouldn't, because MCU's movies did terrible last year at the box office. And Avengers has a lot of pressure on them. It's going to be very interesting to see. I think that's going to be a hallmark like moment for what the future of movies is, and that's why I'm kind of cheering. No offense to all the people involved in making those movies. I'm sure you're working 100 hours a week for $10 an hour, like to make that movie happen in the quick turnaround that they want, and they're giving all that money to Robert Downey Jr. I generally do want that movie not to do well, because I think we deserve better, and I feel like if it gets a shit ton of money and make double the money, gets $1 billion, I'm worried that like we're just gonna get more of this for just longer, when it's like we need to just accept that like that era is over. It was fun when it lasted, but it's time for us to be like, I'm very much interested in the Alex Garland Elden Ring movie by A24 there. That sounds something like, all right, Alex Garland's a pretty good writer. I don't always agree with like movies like Warfare and like some of his clearly politics sometimes, but like other than that, like he's a good writer. He knows how to shoot good movies. All right, he's doing like another big name. It's first Souls movie. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
I'm more interested in to see what I'm hoping like something like that is good, because like I don't know. My rant, but like this has been on my chest. Clearly,
I get you, because what you're describing, if I can translate into Ethan terms a little bit here, is that like the new was more exciting. Something we don't get is more exciting, and the MCU stuff. I mean, that really did destroy the movie ecosystem for a good decade and a half there. Right. Next year, 2 years from now, will be the 20th anniversary of that first Iron Man movie, right? And Infinity War was the 10th anniversary. To think about that, splitting the 2 decades in half there, but that really did just kind of destroy the movie ecosystem and help expedite all of the like people really just wanting to watch quote unquote real stuff on HBO level production television shows. And I mean, there was a period of time where people were like, oh, like there's a lot of these shows are better than the movies that are out there. It's like, yeah, because a lot of the movies can't get the funding because they need to put up Iron Man numbers, they need to put up Spider-Man numbers, like stuff like that. That really did kind of just destroy kind of everything. And so I'm with you on wanting them to be Disney to be gut checked a bit. 2019 was like their best year ever in terms of their film stuff, because they had like a Frozen 2, they had a Lion King, they had Rise of Skywalker, they had Endgame, and they had like I feel like 2 or 3 other giant Toy Story 4, all this stuff on there.
Oh my God,
and I feel like they rode that into the sunset. We are in the sunset. No background pun intended here. They've ridden that into the sunset now because they've kind of destroyed the film industry in that sense by like having everything need to be consolidated into being mega hits or shit you've never heard of. And how many movies come out nowadays that are like, they're in theaters and you have no idea they even existed? Granted, we live in an era where no one really gets advertising anymore that is like online, like in our age. But like so much movies and all that are new, that are not these stalwart franchisey type of stuff, these legacy IP movies. This is what Mortal Kombat 2 is. This is an IP movie. They get out there, they die a week after being in theaters. Maybe they're immediately put on streaming because the studio's like, fuck, okay, fine. And then you never watch it because you're just renting it for $15 or whatever, $10, and then it gets put on Netflix. So they took a deal, and so then all the budgets need to be shrunk down because it's all within the framework of this new type of ecosystem. So I'm with you for
sure.
I'm with you with the Avengers Doomsday movie failing being positive for the industry. I just look at this movie here, Mortal Kombat 2, as a weird instance of, and we see this a lot, so I guess this isn't necessarily an isolated event. This isn't weird in the sense that it is not occurring everywhere else, but they clearly want to have a large series of these films. Because obviously, if it's going to do successful, they're going to make another one, and then another one, right? That's just how this stuff works for this type of stuff. They want to do it, but they're too afraid to commit to saying, hey, we have a 3-part story. We have a 4-part story. Whatever part story. Imagine going back to, granted they were books, but The Lord of the Rings, and knowing, like, yep, this is a story being told in 3 movies. Even the Star Wars prequels, we knew that those were going to be a story of 3 movies.
Where they wanted Lord of the Rings to be 2 movies, and like,
oh yeah,
Peter Jackson was like, "Fuck no, bro!" Like, what are you talking about?
He had to fight really hard to get it to be 3. They were not confident, and he only got it as like a favor to that director role. It's a miracle, legitimately a miracle that we got those movies the way they are. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with like a franchise if the audience is aware ahead of time that yes, this is going to be a multi-part thing. But when every single entry, and this movie is 100% like this, done in a isolated sense, because that's what appeals better to a general audience, not having to need, granted this is called Mortal Kombat 2, but you don't really get past 3 with numbers in movies. You kind of stop. All the Marvel stuff have subtitles. Even like individual, like Shang-Chi needs to have a subtitle. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, like that Marvel movie. Which, by the way, we talk about industry plants sometimes. I'll never forget the marketing for Shang-Chi was literally like, say hello to your new favorite Avenger. How is he going to be my favorite? You're telling me he's already going to be my favorite? What do you mean by that? Whatever. I like that movie just fine because I like people punching. But this movie wasn't done in a way where the audience is going to be like anticipating a sequel because the road was finished. We gotta find our friends. Yeah, it'll take us 3 minutes.
Yeah, you either have to have the confidence being like, we're doing this one at a time, and we're gonna put our best effort into this one thing. If we get green light for a sequel, we'll figure it out. I think that's a total normal strategy. I think in the general day of age, like, be like, we're very confident in this front to end movie here. If it does really well and people want a sequel, we'll get to the writing room and we'll see if for something we can cook up. We shouldn't force it. In an ideal world, we shouldn't force it because sometimes, unfortunately, you get a scenario where these big production companies are like, hey, if you don't make this movie, we're going to find someone else to do it. And then you get a Matrix 4 scenario, which that movie isn't great, but it's a good fuck you to Warner Brothers, and I think that's funny. That's why I do like that movie. I've only seen it once though, but like it was because it's not that great, but it was clearly a fuck you to Warner Brothers. I'm doing this because I have to, because you're gonna make this with me or without me.
Sure.
And that was kind of very meta to me. I've never seen that in a movie before, where they're like, I fucking hate you, and you're gonna market this film for me. But it was really interesting. Interesting movie. But generally speaking, though, like, yes.
Just start. I just because you say, like, you know, it's a good strategy to be like, to make a movie, see if it does well, and then plan a second one. I agree with all of that. However, I feel like all of these studios are afraid of doing the opposite, of saying we're going to do a trilogy and having that first one not do well. You know what I mean? All of these studios are afraid of saying we're going to make 3 movies, have the first one bomb, and then cowardlessly leave. And I think there's something there to say, like, yep, we're making 3 movies. The
marketing aspect of it, where I think general audiences probably don't care as much, that, like, hey, you tried to do a 3-part movie series and you only did 1 and it bombed, and then you never made the second and the third. I think most people move on after a couple years and they'll give you another shot. But I do think producers are more afraid of the lost cost or whatever that they put in, being like, all right, we're giving this director X millions of dollars to make this part 1. They say they want to do 3 parts, you know, whatever it is, and it sucks, or whatever it is, it doesn't do well. I think they're afraid. I just think of your favorite
production studio, the Daily Wire, and how your favorite people over at the Daily Wire want. No, I'm sorry. Go on. Because that's a funny thing that they suffered from too, which is
first and foremost, it's the money. It's the money aspect, and I think the second part is how much bad PR. Because, like, the fact that they listen to the Reddit fans, like, you know, to some degree, some of them listen to the Reddit fans and all that, shows that, like, they're afraid of that temporary bad PR. Even Disney clearly was listening after Last Jedi, despite the fact that most people came out of the theater being like, that was cool. It wasn't until the YouTubers and all that anti-SJW woke shit, pre-woke shit, whatever you want to call it, started yelling and screaming, and then it created this storm. Obviously, sometimes you do get the opposite end where you get your Snyder cut, and good for them, whatever. And, like, that to me was, like, less harmful. Like, I'd rather have people just be like, can you have the original director do a director's cut? Sure. I'd rather have more of those.
Yeah, but all those people want James Gunn hung from the rafters and have they all have these weird conspiracies.
Sure. But you know what I mean? More just like the intent was more of just like, hey, we'd like the original whatever.
We want his vision.
Bong Joon-ho there, who did Mickey 17, he like did a recently, I think it's yesterday, I think I saw it. He did like a little interview where he says, stop yelling at the production companies about Mickey 17 because you didn't like it. Blame me. I had full agency over the creative like of this. So like all the parts that suck, be mad at me. And I was like, that's like the first time I've seen that in a long, like, because they did give him free reign, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I enjoyed that movie for most part. Wasn't saying it's perfect, but once again, I'd rather, like, people have, it's also on the fans and the general audience, more so the fans, to, in this particular example, to be okay with being like, I didn't like something, and I move on with my day. Or, this wasn't for me. Maybe that's the even more mature response, is like, hey, even with this one, I can accept and be like, like I said, I'm not mostly mad at Mortal Kombat, I'm just mad of, like, where movies I feel like are still trying to do with these, like, the nerd kind of world of things. I'm very curious to see how the Street Fighter movie does, because I'm worried it's just going to be something like this, where it'll just, I don't know. But I'm saying all this is that, like, people, I think, like, most general audiences, I think, just watch a movie and they don't think too deeply about it and they move on. But all the weirdos out there, it's just like, take a chill pill. You're still probably going to go see the next one or whatever adaptations in the future, or just play the video game or whatever it is. And just, I don't know. Like, the nerd audience just needs to, like, be like, this isn't for me. Or if you are critiquing it, try to hopefully do it like how we're doing it to some degree here. Where
it reminds me of back in the day, you would hear this a lot when it was a lot of, like, young adult novels being turned into movies. of like the book is better than the movie. It's like, yeah, if they did it 1-to-1 to the thing for you, then why make the movie at all? As a creative standpoint, obviously money, you know what I mean. But that this whole like, well, Scorpion didn't do this or he doesn't look like, reminds me of people saying the book is better than the movie, just because the book is longer and they skipped stuff because God forbid a movie shouldn't take 8 hours of your time, like maybe reading a book would be. Stuff like that. We also got to remember too, like all of these big movies, the big blockbusters that make all the movies that make money are all IP movies. They're all adaptations on larger things, and a lot of these are part of bigger plans now, and you know, bigger, again, all the Nintendo stuff that's happening. Like Miyamoto has to go out on Twitter and talk about the Zelda movie being pushed up a week instead of, you know, in May, and now it's in April of next year, and blah blah blah. And because these are all IP based films, you are a director, you are a writer, you are a producer, 3 different people, whatever, let's just say, being tasked by a studio to make this thing. How much do you care about this IP property? How much do you care about Mario, Mortal Kombat, whatever? And we get back, you know, to when I mentioned authenticity earlier in the episode. Hey, if I know this person really likes Mortal Kombat, and I know that all the people on board are willing to follow this Mortal Kombat lover's vision on this Mortal Kombat movie, that would show a lot more than potentially the opposite. It would. I would respect it more. It's stuff that it's hard to really like say because it's all just like, I guess, vibes based stuff, but like you would notice and you would just like it more. You would be able to tell that like someone who really is a really big fan of the thing is doing it versus a studio that is deciding we need to make this movie based off this property. What do the people like from this thing? Let's just make sure this stuff is in here. The brand is of that owns the IP is a part of it. Let's make sure that they're happy. We happy? We're happy. Good. I personally don't care about this, but if it seems fine, cool. So then when we get into like, I think it was for that Elden Ring movie, I think he's a fan. I think that's why he's attached, is because he's a fan, right? Garland there. I think if maybe I misremembered a news article I read.
I think you do run into,
and that's more interesting.
You get that. I think, and it goes back to like there's different levels of fandom, and I know we've talked about this years ago. I think on this channel of like, I think with the DCEU? I don't even remember. I think at the time we were talking about it, but like Resident Evil's coming out this year. Another one of those movies where I'm really interested because Zach Kreger can make good horror movies that are not based off of like just his own original stories, but he's now getting like you said, an IP, a very legendary IP in the video game world, Resident Evil here, and based off the trailer, though, they're letting him just do his own thing. And I think that, to me, is refreshing. It's like we're not getting another Leon Kennedy story, as much as we love Leon and all that, but like, let the games tell those stories. You can still be Resident Evil without you can make new characters. And I think that's, once again, Cole Young should have been the representation of that, where it's like,
right,
hey,
because what it is the director, writer, producer that's a big fan of the IP. Yes, they could just be that Reddit person who's empowered. That's what the Dave Filoni in Star Wars is. Like, he's got to make all the things and blah, 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 blah. He's just like, just a big old loser, in my opinion. Not that I care about Star Wars anyway, and it's because of all the stuff that he's done. It could be like that, or they could be someone that understands the property on a level that is more deep, like an artist would, as they think about something. They have their own perspective on things, and they are making
Resident Evil
their vision of what it means to them as a fan. Those things, and I know this, that Zach Kreger likes Resident Evil, so like hearing that, like, oh, it's not going to be like anything like the games, it's its own thing. It's kind of like, well, why is it called Resident Evil to me? But depending on how it comes out, you should be able to see what his opinions on Resident Evil are in that movie, and that could be really cool. You know what I mean? Versus him
I'd rather have
doing Resident Evil 2 again.
Could be,
you know?
And the movie could be, for all we know, could watch and be like, or maybe it's bad. But at least I'm looking forward to that. Like we're saying, is that all right? He has an interpretation of Resident Evil that he wanted, a story he wanted to tell. That he's like, oh, I think if I had to do my own my own lore or my own canon for this is what I would tell. And I do believe that everyone who made Mortal Kombat 2 clearly likes the video games. I just think that, like, this is where, like I said, I think we're hitting a period in also video game movies where it's like, I want to see it continue to grow. And the only way we do that is like, all right, we've shown that we can make our Sonics and some of our Marios. And we, you know, these movies really at the end of the day, like on a video game movie scale, are fine. But I think we can do better, and here's how we do better. And it's like, not everything needs to be references and like tie-ins and all that stuff. Like let's let them have some freedom, and fans need to accept that, because in the long run, you're gonna talk about, man, you know, I'm trying to think of an example of a movie we watched. Like we want like Detention, like that movie. Like we can't really talk a lot about like that. And granted, that's a very niche video game, but like, you know, they had a story to tell and had a reason to exist, to tell some specific type of story or theme or whatever it is. I don't even know what the theme of this movie really is, outside of like, hey, if you're a washed up actor, don't give up. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it's just believe in yourself. There's a cause bigger than you. For me, if we can tell,
only if you're one of the gifted ones, though.
Well, sure.
And you know an elder.
Yeah, they decided. We don't need to nitpick anymore. But the first movie's whole thing was you need to have a superpower, and then they don't give Johnny Cage one. At the very end, they're like, yeah, now he has the green flash kick stuff, whatever. But they didn't build up that it was important for him to have it. Doesn't matter. Once more, because then we need to rank this movie, you know, whatever, and then move on with our lives.
I didn't think this episode would go this direction. I apologize to everyone in advance, but I'm
not apologizing. You're welcome. You're welcome. And just one more point about authenticity.
Yeah.
And someone that really likes a thing. If I can go into this movie and tell that they sat down and got a whiteboard and said, here are our elements, our characters, our places, our major story beats that are inherent to this IP, and if I can tell how the cookie-cutter puzzle pieced the whole thing together, then it doesn't feel as authentic to me. Watching this movie feels like, okay, yep, we need to have 3 fights at the beginning. We're going to have the invincible evil dude kill Cole Young first, so that when it's Liu Kang and the guy he fights, was it just Kung Lao? I think it was Kung Lao. You won't know because we already killed one person off. Like, but if we had it the opposite, they would know. If I can tell for a fact how they placed this movie's pieces together, it doesn't necessarily feel like the type of movie we are describing that we want. Now, the camera's in our hands. We go make it. It's probably not going to be good. We're not coming from this position of like, we know how to make the thing, but that is the problem. We are coming from this as critics who know that the things that we really like in art, just all art, are things that we did not realize existed before we saw it, read it, watched it, listened to it, whatever. Knowing that it's possible that someone can make something that we really like and we don't know what that is what's important for this. And the fact that right now in this industry, it is all about making the things that already make money, ergo make that Reddit comment type of style happy, is making us like the stuff less than what it deserves. Because honestly, this is a fine movie, and we've been ragging on this movie a lot just because of what it represents, more so than what the movie actually is. Maybe I'm overstepping and just looping you in my own personal feelings with this, but
no,
when we talk bad about this movie, it's really the movie's just fine.
I gave this a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which, you know, it was just like, I did have fun for the most part, and I wasn't expecting this movie to be like, wow, this had layers to it, man. Like I wasn't expecting it to be that, but at the same time,
than the Borderlands
movie. A lot better. It was better than the Borderlands movie. It just could have been better, but it's not necessarily. I don't blame all the creation, like the actual creators of this. I just blame the where we're at, like you were saying, in the movie industry, where everything is either from a big IP or we need to reboot something that someone liked in 1989 without any goal outside of we need to make money versus I have a story to tell. And I get it. We live under capitalism. There's always the money aspect to it. I don't care even if you're trying. Like there is a border or there's a lot of people out there who probably have amazing stories to tell will never get it because of money or whatever financial barrier there is. Right, Ethan here.
I have all the amazing stories.
Yeah.
But for Ethan the movie,
that's part of it. But there is still that area in the industry that does exist where there is original stories, or if it is based off of a big IP, like they once in a while we get someone to be like, I'm telling my own story with this. I have a goal with this. And they start listening to either the fans or the money isn't, or sometimes the money will be fine anyways, but the money isn't high enough number. So we just can it. But like at the end of the day, I'd rather just there be, like you said, the authentic original stories. Yes, you can still, if you're doing references, there's the way to do it. It's cheesy. I said it before. I didn't expect Devil vs. Prada to be that, but the Devil vs. Prada 2, unironically, was at least trying to, like, I have a purpose for existing, as versus I'm trying to get your butt in the seat because I know you liked this in 2004, and now you have, I don't know, 2 kids now, and you're bringing them to the theater. Like, no, like, I'm okay with all that, the sequels to things. I don't care if you've made a sequel to a movie from 1950. As long as you have a reason for doing it that isn't just blind, we need to make the money. Like, no, I have a story to tell for this. I think that's it. But that's where we are as a society in general. There's the nostalgia aspect of it, and everything is go big or go home in our economy right now, with whether it's AI or how the government works in general. It's like we need 100% increase or we're just cutting it, right? And video game industry is definitely in that world right now too. That's why you see all these studios closing. So there's all those things, and it's just like I feel bad for we shat it on all this while we were talking about Mortal Kombat 2, but I just think it's like at least for me, I'm like, I don't know what it was, but just like in the last month or so, we've been watching movies. I've been watching movies, and I'm just like it. I don't know. It's right there. We deserve better, and it's just like everyone's just whoever's making all these decisions, all the money guys are just like, I don't give a fuck. Make sure it hits all the beats and get the butts in the seats. Yes, that rhymed. But let's rank this shit.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
We didn't really talk about this movie, but it's all good.
I don't know. I feel important. Like it feels weird because we gave the first movie
the combat
an A.
Part of it was good. Some of the characters were cool. Some of the set pieces were cool. Some of the special effects were really good. Other times not so good. Also other things that I forgot to mention, but like I said, we went on this big.
It's a lot of the stuff that you would hear. You're gonna hear all the time about every movie, so it's like I almost feel like I feel obligated to mention some of that stuff.
I'm hitting the notes.
And we gave the first movie an A. And I personally feel like that's too high now, so it feels weird to rank this one lower, even though I feel like I kind of maybe like this movie about the same, if not maybe a little bit more in some aspects, maybe. I don't know. I think the movie is just fine. I think about the characters' performances. None of them stand out to me besides the idea of this adaptation of Johnny Cage being something I tolerate way more. At the same time, I don't think Carl Urban was phenomenal in the role. It could have been anyone that's doing it. Again, there was a lack of confidence in that character, in the writing part. So none of the characters stood out to me. Besides, like maybe if they had Shao Kahn, if what if type of stuff. If Shao Kahn was a bigger deal previously, then he may have a bigger impact on me in this movie. But
like he kills Sonya too or something. I don't know, but
yeah, like
I also don't want to. I think it's always the tough part about reviewing movies in general too. Is always like this is the thing that I wanted, and like it's tough to not do that.
Right. Talk about what it goes
back to just like it was just fine, and I don't know where they're gonna take it. I mean, we do this for the love of the game, so we'll be there for a potential third movie. I don't know if there's a third movie based off its based off how the box office works or the expectations.
It'll be another 5 years, and these characters will be 10 years older than they were in the first one.
We're gonna get a Hulu original TV series instead to finish.
No, it's Warner Brothers, so it would be HBO. But I don't know. I think this movie is just fine. Nothing about it like sticks out to me as like hell yes. It is serviceable and fine. It looks like it should be ranked higher than a C, just based off its visuals and whatnot. But that's just saying like modern movies look nice, so therefore it's higher.
Some of the better choreography for sure of live video game movie adaptations for fighting games. That is,
but it didn't inspire me. I didn't feel like hell yeah about any of it. They were just fighting. I don't know.
If all the fights were like the Kung Lao and Liu Kang fight, like throughout, then I'd probably be in the B for me. But some of them were just all right or happened too quickly and just, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm saying
too, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, whatever. It's not like
sorry
it's
you had to be here
game
for this.
Like Dead or Alive.
It's like you invited someone to the party and then you just trauma dump on them, and it's just now it's awkward. They can't leave. And Mortal Kombat's like, oh, just give me the fucking rank. After the 20 minutes, Mortal Kombat 2 was like, just give me the rank.
And one of the two dudes didn't even tell you until halfway in that he's sick, and so now you probably got it too. You know what I mean? And so he's leading everyone down because he sounds a little bit off.
We probably won't hear from. He won't text back. Mortal Kombat 2 ain't texting back.
He's not going to mention tonight anymore. No, it'll be another month before we reach out back to him, and that's when he responds. No, I don't know. I'm on C. I'm on C for this movie. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm with you. I was like maybe a B if it was, I don't know. I was in a better mood. I'm being honest. I don't know. But like I had fun. And there's been some video game movies that we've watched that I don't have fun in and are bad. This movie isn't necessarily like bad, but like it's just fine. Like on a video game movie scale, it's fine. And I agree that maybe Mortal Kombat, the first one, should be a B. That one at least was confident what it was trying to do. This one definitely felt like I said, the more fan servicey to its detriment. Yeah.
I will say,
Justice
for Cole Young. We gave so these are the movies that came out this year and what we ranked so far. Return to Silent Hill, C. Iron Lung, C. The Super Mario Galaxy movie, D.
Really?
Exit 8, A. Really? Mortal Kombat 2, C. This movie, I feel a lot of the similar stuff that I felt with Return to Silent Hill of like, they're just going through the motions on this thing, making it how they can. I don't feel the love of the thing from the people making it. C feels very appropriate to me for this movie. So, there we have it.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2, C.
Yep. It's been 5 years. Crazy since the last. I was thinking about that when I was there. I was like, damn, dude, it feels like yesterday. But and then I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that was peak.
That's why Liu Kang was wearing a shirt.
HBO Max COVID release movie. Mm-hmm. Remember, it was that and Godzilla were the two I remember watching in the same within the 2 months of each other. And I was like, oh, this is it, huh?
And the Batman too, right? Wasn't the Batman also in that stretch?
No, I remember seeing the Batman theaters, but I think that was later in the year. Might have been some.
Okay.
It was definitely vaccine era though of COVID. So,
anyway,
yeah, we need to watch that one again. Anyways, but
we gotta go. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed how dour we were in this episode. We promise there are more upbeat episodes of this podcast. We're reviewing movies that we have a higher opinion of, I guess, or maybe in better spirits. Please don't let this dissuade you on pressing the like button on this YouTube video or pressing the subscribe button on this YouTube video. If you're listening to us on podcast services, thanks. Share the love, spread the word. Maybe point out one of your favorite episodes and share that one instead of this one. Or maybe you have a Mortal Kombat fan in your life and they just need to be put into perspective. You said that to me before I'd seen the movie, as if it was a big thing. I'm like, oh, are they going to do a big perspective shift to 2D? Like, no, the dude just says perspective 3 times. Yeah, you let me down. You let me down. You had me the wrong impression. We'll see you guys next time.
Oh, sorry.
I wore my Kung Lao hat just for this, and I forgot to even mention that. Shing, they changed his hat.
Shing.
See ya.